Last week, we saw the historic vote to reinstate Elon's back pay, and things are appearing to be moving forward on that front. But what's next for Elon and the company and the stock? And for those who wish to buy or simply have the stock, there may be a new stock-based compensation plan for high-performing employees coming into play. And we're going to discuss that with Herbert from Brighter. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So I'm joined by Herbert, as I sometimes am, and we are going to discuss exactly that. How are you, Herbert?
I'm doing great. Fantastic. I'm just incredibly happy that Elon has received, great, overwhelming support by the retail shareholders approving the two proposals. Not over yet, but it really sets up the legal team for Tesla to fight back and get this going. And then you can see Elon. Everything he says now is all about, you can see his mind. He's working forward about what the comp plan will be, the new one. You're hearing what he thinks the market cap will be for Tesla, $30 trillion, PE ratio of 25. Even if you apply these things, this is where I'm going to get to. How many bots? He started talking about that. Just tremendous amount of forward thinking that he's doing. So I love it. I'm very, very happy these days.
The first time the compensation plan passed with a vote of 73%, but those investors were lied to. They were deceived. The board of directors was in his pocket. They had incomplete information. It wasn't fair. Yeah. So they put it back to a vote. And I was concerned because so many of today's shareholders did not get in at $13 a share or $19. Many of them are underwater. So of course, he got much, much, much less of the vote. It was 72%. 1% less than last time. You can't tell us our eyes are not wide open. We know what we're doing. We always did. Yeah. And again, I didn't buy stock until after the previous compensation plan was in place. So I didn't get to vote the first time, but I looked at it and said, if this happens, if this pops the way Elon believes it will, it's going to be huge. And it has been. So that means we've got some opportunity to get our employees on board with the plan. We're all on the same mission. Tesla to introduce new stock-based compensation plan for high-performing employees. This is a beautiful shot from Giga, Texas. Older shot for sure. So do you have any initial thoughts, or do you want me to just start reading?
No. I absolutely have so much thoughts about this. Again, I think what's happened was Elon is now thinking about his compensation plan. They're working on it for the next 10 years. So the natural thing is, why don't we offer something similar, right, in the same vein to our employees? And this will energize them. This will motivate them. This will get the employees, the most important ones, to really stay. That's the most critical thing, because if you're now transitioning into a robotics AI company, you need the people that are running your real world AI, the full self-driving. You need the people in charge of the compute and the neural networks. They are so critical at this point. And they have a challenge, right? Because Tesla is such a massive company now, minimum at $500 billion market cap. You had just said in another conversation we just had, right? It's much harder to go from a $500 billion market cap to a 100x to that than it is if you're a tiny little company trying to do this. And so how do you motivate the people who want to make this money instead of going to a small firm? And trust me, and I know everybody here knows, the audience here is not dumb. They know every single employee at Tesla is being poached. They're being, approached all the time. Here's what we're going to give you.
Heavy recruitment opportunities, yeah. And if Tesla's on your resume, it looks so good.
Yeah.
There was an article a year or two ago where someone said, oh, look at this. Look at how biased recruiting is. And he said, I submitted this resume 50 times this way and 50 times this way. And look how many more replies I got when I used, and I think it was a race-based name. But the difference was on the one he wanted to favor, he put Tesla and Meta and Google. And of course, having those on your resume means you're going to get a call. So my question would be, what kind of employees are top performing employees? Who's going to get these bonuses?
I just mentioned it, didn't I? It's like anybody to
Well,
do with AI,
yes,
neural
but
networks, software. Do you remember what he just said at the most recent conversation we just had with him? Right? He said that Tesla is really at the annual shareholder meeting. He just said Tesla is really more of a software company than we're a hardware company.
I will add to it, and you can push back if it makes sense. The problem solvers on the ground. If you've got, so on the ground in the factories, they don't just accept your feedback, they ask
Yeah.
for it. They actively pursue it because if you're not giving us feedback, that means you think everything's perfect, and I promise you it isn't. So I think the real problem solvers on the ground will also see
Yeah.
bonuses.
I agree with that. I mean, people always say Elon is so distracted. He's got so many companies he's worried working on. Tesla is a massive company, right? 140,000 employees. Maybe they got rid of 10, 20,000 people. They're massive. Who's running the show? Is it Elon? There are people, top level executives, the top level employees that make all the difference. And the more that they're transitioning to robotics AI, the more that you need to reward the people that is running the day-to-day business. That's going to be here for quite a while before you can make that transition. So yeah, no, for sure. It's like these are people
Yeah.
really in charge of general managers, right? The executives, the team leaders. Yeah.
I am desperately bitter because my boss wants $1 trillion and I'm not going to get a taste of that.
Yeah.
Guess what? You
No,
are.
you do.
That's what this is about. And if you believe that he is going to become that wealthy, you would be wise to join that mission. And if you're not comfortable doing it with your own dollars, maybe you don't have enough of your own dollars, maybe you have obligations that make it so that your paycheck ends up being lean. Good news, we'll just give you some because we really want you on board with the mission. When I worked at the bank, what we would do is all of the stock bonuses that we would get had, of course, a vesting period. So they're the golden handcuffs. So if you've got, 100 grand or 1 million or a cajillion dollars, but it vests over time, that means that you are forever. It makes the cost of recruiting you away that much more expensive.
Yeah, absolutely does. And so I'm just glad that he's doing this, right? Because the worst case scenario would be that they didn't do this, they didn't offer this because they pulled it, right? There was an announcement, I don't remember now, 3 months, 6 months ago, where they not only were letting go people, but they've stopped. Yeah, what did it say there?
That they had reintroduced. The announcement was made. Let's see. Over the next few weeks, Tesla will be doing a comprehensive review. So the initiative comes after the company had to make difficult decisions earlier this year, including canceling merit-based stock comp and implementing layoffs. Now, I think the layoffs are much more difficult. I don't know why the stock-based compensation was canceled, but I'm glad to see it back. I think this is an important...
It could have been similar to what they're doing with the referral program, where he had to rethink it. So he said, let's just cancel what we have now. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's come up with something brand new. That's what he's doing. And so I think this is why they did the referral program too. They cut that. Well, it's not that he doesn't want to do it. He just thinks that the model that they've been doing is not the thing to go forward, and stop it. And then soon enough, we're going to reintroduce something new. And this is what's happening with this merit-based stock compensation plan. And the beautiful thing about Tesla, though, is that, like, I know you said that it's not a small company that's going to 100x, but it possibly can, right? Because we're talking about the two biggest tectonic changes in the world happening right now, and Tesla's the leader, right? Which is AI, and which leads to
Robotics.
AGI and robotics. So what can get bigger than that, right? Labor, economy, everything being replaced. And you are the company that's going to do it. You're the company. And so you are a tiny little startup compared to what is the absolute biggest TAM you can absolutely even think about. That's what this is about.
That is what this is about. And it's crazy to think about it. I had a comment come in where I was saying that with the Optimus, you could do anything, including build and repair other Optimus. And the comment was that, no, you can't. Robots have existed in some form for 100 years, and they already don't build each other. And I said, you will get it. You will get it. And when you do, you will see what I see. There's nothing with some limitations. Now, we know Dr. Scott Walter was able to find someone who could get into the VIP tour to actually ask Elon a private question, which was, we know it can do this, but can it do this?
Yeah.
And Elon's answer was, no, it can't do that. So that means it can play piano, but it can't play jazz. So it will still have some limitations. What I suggest for young people looking to work in an industry that's relatively secure from an AI future is go into jazz piano.
Well, okay, so this is what we're talking about. Is the next generation, which is the third major revision in the hardware by the end of this year. But Brian, you can take off the arm, you can plug in a new arm. And the reason it needs to be the arm is that the way the Optimus is built is that the degrees of freedom go into the wrist, is what he had said. So you just need to plug in a new arm, and now you can plug in that version that can do this with an extra actuator. It's just that they don't want to pay for that extra actuator when they're trying to create thousands and millions of these bots for now, when you don't need that for every single one of them.
No, that is doing something like that is a very limited use case, and should it become critical, they will do it.
Yeah.
And we were very fortunate at our event on Saturday. We had Dr. Know-It-All, Dr. Scott Walter, and Justin, the bearded Tesla guy, all on a panel together less than 2 days after they were on at the shareholder meeting, moderated by Chris from Dirty Tesla. And all of the notes that we had put together for that panel, we were like, it is time to throw them out. We have a new conversation, don't we? And it was wonderful. For those tuning in who do not know, Herbert has put together a team that studies robotics like nobody else. And I mean nobody else. The only people I have seen who know more about robotics than the team you have are bound by non-disclosure agreements. So if you have... if you are a robotics company and you need some ridiculously insightful information, they are the go-tos on that. And I'm, of course, super jealous, but I'll get over it. Yeah, well, and if you'd like to see Herbert live, I have heard it on good authority that he will be at the X Takeover in San Luis Obispo at the end of July. Herbert almost never does events. This is the only one I think you've ever done before.
That's kind of true, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
You.
So he will be live there. I will be live there as well. You can check out xtakeover.com, I think is the URL. And they have got so many fantastic guests. John Stringer puts together, not only does he put together great events, but he helps groups like Michigan and others put together their events. And the Austria event, he helped the Austria event. It was their first event ever, and it felt like a third or fourth event.
They did a good job, yeah.
It came out, oh my gosh, it came across so fantastically well. So be sure to check out all of those things and so many more. In the comments, I'd like to know, in terms of stock bonuses that you may have ever received, what did you get and how did it work out in the end? Did you get shares of a company that went under? I knew I still had friends who worked at Washington Mutual when their stock options expired, virtually worthless. So let me know, because I think that's an interesting part of the equation we should consider.
Let me throw in, because this is a very good point that you just been saying. The difference here is that Tesla is not a startup. It's not that risky. The chances are much higher that it's not going to go bankrupt, that it's going to succeed and grow. And so your stock options are more likely than any other options out there to be able to double at least. But it could actually be 100x. It's just, but at least double, that's very highly likely. Yeah.
It's less of a gamble. But Washington Mutual stock was considered safe as houses, but it turned out the houses that they were invested in were not that safe of investments, and that was the problem. But I knew some people who got the very short end of that pre-shortened stick. So, guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Let us know. Leave it all into the comments below. And stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, the next time I trick Herbert into joining me on my show. And check him out on Brighter. He does great work.